All right, we have a video queued up here. The name of the video is Did Noah Create Humans by Throwing Rocks by Mud Fossil University. Please like, subscribe, and share Mud Fossil University's videos. And tell them Larry James 965 sent you. And this video is used for entertainment, educational, and fair use. Thank you.
A shocker of biblical proportions. Now, let's start right from the beginning because this goes back to the creation of Earth and then all the things that happened from there. If you're not interested in that, you're in the wrong place. We're going to start from the beginning. And what was the beginning? Well, there was stories written by Hesiod, Ovid, all of these early Greeks. They called the Greco-Roman period, where the Greeks and the Romans, they had their own words for different things, like this. Deucalion in Greek is the same as Noah, all right, who was the son of Prometheus, the creator of humankind, king of Phthia in Thessaly and husband of Pyrrha. All right, so Deucalion, who is also Noah, wasn't just a guy sitting around on the block and they said, "Hey, why don't you go build a boat? We're going to have a flood." No, he was a big shot. He was the son of Prometheus, the creator of humankind. He was the king of Phthia in Thessalia and husband of Pyrrha. He was also the father of Helen, the mythical ancestor of the Hellenic race. This is not just a guy walking around in the woods. So he began the creation of humanity again. And here's the story of that. Now, this is the ancient text. It says Deucalion, who is Noah, and his wife gathered all the stones together while they were walking. They threw the stones behind them without looking back. As from a miracle, the stones hit the earth and they were turned into humans. Well, my humans were turned into stones, but same sort of thing. Those thrown by Deucalion, who was Noah, became handsome men, and those thrown by Pyrrha became fair women, you know, good looking chicks. Now that's the story. Now I have gone so deep into this, it's hard to believe, but well, everything here is hard to believe. But this is Apollodorus, the Library of Apollodorus, who was one of the ancient writers. He wrote at the time of, I think, maybe 180 BC, something like that. Second century BC. Um, and here he's writing about the sky was the first who ruled over the whole world, and having wetted the earth, he begat first 100-handed, as they are named. And then this is so detailed, it's absolutely amazing. But it's just too amazing to believe. It talks about the Cyclops as the
Welcome to. Wait a minute here. Hello? There we go. Welcome. I guess not. Welcome, damn it. Have a great day.
giant, the sky was bound to Tartarus, and all of these, every single thing, the ocean, all of them being creature ish things. The Olympian gods, Apollo and Artemis, Demeter and Persephone, here's the one right here that clinched it for me was War of the Giants and Typhon. Typhon is the giant it's the giant dragon. It describes him identical to what he is. Identical. 163 is it? Here it is right here. When the gods had overcome the giants, Earth was still more enraged, had intercourse with Tartarus, and brought forth Typhon, who is the giant. He was a hybrid between man and beast. In size, he surpassed all the offspring of Earth. As far as his thighs go, which you go and looking at it, and you'll see the thighs look sort of humanish. And it says, "This is thighs." Very interesting thing to talk about. It was of human shape and such prodigious bulk that he outtopped all the mountains. His head often brushed the stars. And that's true because the size of that dragon, if he was standing up, he would be way above the space station. Now, I cannot account for this, how they got so big. And he's not just one of a kind. He may be one of a kind, but he's not just one. He's one of many giant creatures that were on this earth, which it appears that the earth is made of these giant creatures. There were giants in the earth in those days. And then after that, there was more giants after the sons of God went into the daughters of man. And then the whole thing fell apart. And then finally the flood was brought upon the earth from Jupiter, who is Zeus, to cleanse the earth of these giants. And then Noah was throwing rocks, creating people. A lot of thinking to do here. And it goes way beyond that. We got to go to Metamorphosis. Ovid was the one that put everything together. He was from the same date as Julius Caesar. He was born at the same, just about the same day Caesar died. And then he put all of these things together. And the first words out of his mouth about all of this stuff, he's got all these books. Look at this. And he was considered to be as important as any religious text ever written, including the Old Testament at this time. He's the first words from him. He says metamorphosis, or the transformation, meaning from rocks to people, from people to mushrooms. Listen to this. Transformation, a unifying theme amongst the episodes of Metamorphosis, which is the complete compilation of everybody else's works all put together. Ovid raises the significance explicitly in the opening lines. In nova ferianimus mutatus decerias formos corpora. I intend to speak of forms changed into new entities. Now listen to this. Accompanying this theme is often violence inflicted upon a victim whose transformation becomes part of the natural landscape. These creatures are becoming part of the natural landscape. In the first words, he says, this is what happened. This is how the earth was constructed of these creatures. The theme amalgamates the much explored opposition.
I believe that. I believe
the
that
hunter and the
Earth
hunted,
has
and the
all
thematic
kinds of dead
tension between
creatures
art and nature.
in
This
it,
is
on
very,
it,
very,
within
very
it.
deep. And he's talking about these transformations. Listen to this. There's a great variety among the type of transformations that take place, from humans into inanimate objects like the Nile River and so forth, into constellations, into animals, from animals and ants and fungi and mushrooms into humans of sex of hyenas and colors and pebbles. And they can make anything out of anything they want because they control the particles. They were the alchemists, basically, and they were gods. Now, were they gods and they were just capable of manipulating matter, or were they actually creatures that had that capacity and then used it to make their lives extend forever? I don't know. All of this is just off the charts crazy. But The thing I am studying is these ancient mythologies, the ancient texts, the mysteries. Everybody's always a big mystery, big mystery. Nobody wants to solve the mystery. They just want to keep talking about mysteries. Well, I like to solve things. I like to get to the end. There is always a beginning, but there isn't always an end if you keep working on it. And these are the Gnostic texts. Now, I get a lot of people, oh, you can't look at that, you can't look at this, you can't look at that stuff. You got to just follow the Bible, and everything in the Bible is true. There's nothing that's wrong. We're sitting on pillars, we're stationary. The earth is flat, it has four corners. I get this stuff all the time. If you're going to believe this stuff, that's the only thing you can believe. Well, no, it isn't. You have to be able to think for yourself. Somebody wrote that. And then they didn't write it at the time these guys were writing. These guys were writing at the time of these events. Hesiod wrote in, where's Hesiod? I think I got here. He is. Yeah. He wrote, the theogony concerns the origins of the world and of the gods, beginning with Chaos, Gaia, Tartarus, Eurus, and shows a special interest in genealogy. And man, if you want to see genealogy, just read through Apollodorus. Apollodorus, starts right off with the birth of Zeus. And here's what it says right here. Sky was the first who ruled over the whole world, having wedded earth. And then it goes on to about the Cyclopses, about Tartarus, about Zeus, about all of the Titans, and how the father was eating the babies so he wouldn't be overtaken. It was foretold he would be overtaken by his son, and that's exactly what did happen. Anyway, it starts off the birth of Zeus, the war of the Titans, the Olympian gods, Apollo and Artemis, Demeter and Persephone, the war of the giants and Typhon, Prometheus, Deucalion. There's the Deucalion right here. This is deep. It's going to get extremely, extremely deep. And I don't know how to approach it.
So, what do you think? Do you think he's crazy, or is he on to something?
This is not anything anybody ever accepted or could accept as being true until I discovered Typhon in the desert. And at that point, I said, this is it. This is all got to be relooked at in a completely new mud fossil way. There's no other way to approach this. Okay, you probably heard it say before that the Prometheus was the father of mankind. Now, that's maybe yes, maybe no. Here's what they're saying. In some versions of the Prometheus myth, he is also credited with the creation of humanity from clay. Prometheus is known for his intelligence and for being a champion of mankind, also generally seen as the author of the human arts and sciences. He is sometimes presented as the father of Deucalion, who is Noah in the flood story. So that's what they're talking about, Prometheus. Now, what we need is to have a online forum where we can discuss this. This is very, very, very complicated. And where is it now? Well, Hesiod goes back to around 800 BC, something like that. And the Old Testament goes back to 1500 BC, or between that and 400 BC, somewhere in that area, but all basically about the same time as Hesiod, although maybe a little earlier. However, it is exactly in the time frame that Velikovsky talks about. 1500 BC was a great flood. That's when the great flood has. That's what Velikovsky said. Every culture on the face of the planet had the same story, 1500 BC, the great flood. Now, then there was different takes on how it ended up. Noah was one of them that, if he was the son of Prometheus, he was tipped off and said, here, you're going to do this and we'll preserve the good part of mankind and just wipe the rest out. And that's what Prometheus would have probably done. I don't know. I have no idea. But we need to do a lot of talking because this was the Old Testament. Now, the New Testament came after the turn of the millennium. So it's after Jesus Christ, basically. And prior to that was the Old Testament, 1500 BC. And the same thing, exactly what Velikovsky said. That was when the Great Flood occurred. Okay, and one last point is that we want all points of view about the ancient past. I look at the Nag Hammadi text and Jesus Christ himself, who I believe now literally was the Son of God. Certainly a very serious messenger, because we all are sons or daughters of God. This is just the way it is. There's no, you can't get around that. So Jesus Christ was his only son. That's the key. That's the only key, because we are all sons or daughters of Christ and of God, basically. Oh boy. Okay, now I talk about all these ancient sources, all of them. And here's another one, the Nag Hammadi text. This was just discovered recently, 1945, right after they tried to slaughter the Jews. Very interesting. And this is Jesus's earliest documented sayings, and it was documented by the Gospel of Thomas. Thomas was doubting Thomas, and he was his scribe and wrote all the things he said. And the first thing he said, whoever discovers interpretation of these sayings will not taste death. Now, I don't think anybody is going to be able to understand all of these sayings. It's very, I certainly cannot. But he also says, those who seek should not stop seeking until they find. When they find, where they will be disturbed. When they are disturbed, they will marvel and will reign over all. After they have reigned, they will rest. Well, 56 and 80. Well, here's something about mud fossils. What is this? Jesus said, know what is in front of your face, and what is hidden from you will be disclosed to you. For there is nothing hidden that will not be revealed, and there is nothing buried that will not be raised. Mud fossils. Here's more mud fossil discovered. Jesus said, don't lie and don't do what you hate, because all things are disclosed before heaven. After all, there is nothing hidden that will not be revealed, and there is nothing covered up that will remain undisclosed. Academia, what's this? As for you, then, be on guard against the world. Prepare yourselves with great strength so the robbers can't find a way to get to you. For the trouble you expect will come. Let there be among you a person who understands. Anyway, here, speak up, what's this? Jesus said, what you will hear in your ear and the other ear proclaim from your rooftops. After all, no one lights a lamp and puts it under a basket, nor does one put it in a hidden place. Rather, one puts it on a lampstand, so that all who come go will see its light. If a blind person leads a blind person, both of them fall into a hole. Okay. Anyway, 56 and 80 were the big ones. Now here's 56. Jesus said, whoever has come to know the world has discovered a carcass. That's what the world is. It's a carcass of dead bodies. And whoever has discovered a carcass of that person, the world is not worthy. And here's number 80 right here. Jesus said, well, whoever has come to know the world has discovered the body. Yes. And now I've discovered the things in the body nobody's even ever known about. So I'm serious. Interstitium is one of them. And there's other stuff too that it's just beyond the top. Anyway, I'm just going to leave it at this. Whoever has discovered the world has discovered a body. Whoever discovered the body of that one in the world is not worthy. And there's so much to these sayings you could never figure out. Nobody's going to.
We welcome you to the broadcast. Hope you're having a great, wonderful day. We're watching a video by Mud Fossil University. You're more than welcome to interject, give your beliefs, your thoughts, your agreements, your disagreements. They're all accepted and wanted. Thank you. Back to the video.
Figure it out. Do the best you can. That's all I'm showing. Now, don't forget, Immanuel Velikovsky is my hero. He wrote Worlds in Collision. I wrote a book called Mud Fossils and Velikovsky and Minds in Collision because that's what happened. They destroyed him because their minds collided with reality. The academics could not take it, absolutely couldn't take it. In 1950, they forced him to take the book back after it was on the top of the bestseller list for 11 weeks in a row. The publisher had to recall the book. Listen to this. Worlds in Collision. Here are the principal hypotheses.
Once again, they don't want
from 1950.
possibly the truth
the
to be
gods
known.
of many ancient cultures
No
were
way.
represented in the sky by planets,
Tell me
comets,
it's not
and stars.
true.
Greek authors such as Ptolemy and Homer described the birth of Athena, which was the planet Venus, as having sprung from the head of Zeus, which is the planet Jupiter. Thus, by a mechanism that Velikovsky
will welcome you also to the broadcast. Hope you're having a great, wonderful day. You're more than welcome to interject, give your points of views, your thoughts, your agreements, your disagreements. They're all wanted and accepted. Thank you. Have a great day and a better tomorrow.
did not explain the planet Jupiter ejected the protoplanet Venus as a hot, fiery comet. This comet passed close to Earth around 1500 BC. There's your 1500 BC. And as was directly or indirectly responsible for the plagues of Egypt described in the biblical book of Exodus, material from the coma of this comet made the river Nile run red. Flies and scarabs fell from the comet onto Earth. Earthquakes destroyed Egyptian buildings. The sea parted, and the children of Israel wandered for 40 years in the wilderness. Manna rained down as carbohydrates from the comet's tail. And these are all the things that Velikovsky said happened. Now, I have taken a scientific examination of this, and I understand that I believe exactly he's correct.
So, what do you think? Do you think all these old writings and scriptures are all true? Or do you think these people that wrote these hard to believe, some of them anyway, things, do you think they were all like high on mushrooms or mescaline, or, was it just like their imagination, or did they really see and believe what they wrote? What do you think? I'm really not sure.
Correct, exactly what did happen. And that's what created the mud fossils, and that was 1500 BC. And that was quoted somewhere else in here, the time of Noah. All right, see, Velikovsky is right on board with the Old Testament from somewhere around 1500 BC, which was the time of the destruction of the earth. And Venus was literally born from the great red spot on Jupiter. And it may be ready to give another birth of another planet. That red spot has changed dramatically in the last few years since 2019. I've been following it close.
I've never heard about that. Has anybody else heard about that? A planet creating another planet? Kind of interesting.
Anyway, times they are changing, my friends.
Yeah.
Okay, Jupiter literally gave birth to the planet Venus, who is spinning backwards. Now, the shape of Jupiter's great red spot is changing, and here is why. Well, they don't know.
Has anybody ever heard about that? A planet creating another planet? I myself have never heard about it. Kind of interesting. I'm not sure if it's true or not, but it's definitely interesting.
Why, and they admit that. Nobody knows why, but I have an explanation that I think makes sense. It says our solar system's most iconic storm is indubitably great, the great red spot, but exactly why it's any of those things is a mystery. Now, the new study published adds yet another piece to Jupiter's puzzle, and the winds in its outermost stretches are speeding up. The winds are speeding up, and its shape is changing, becoming less cigar shaped and more circular. Well, what's happening? Let's look at the red spot.
We welcome you to the broadcast. Hope you're having a great, wonderful day. You're more than welcome to interject at any time. Give your comments, thoughts, beliefs, disbeliefs. All your point of views are wanted and accepted. Thank you and have a great day and a better tomorrow.
All right, the first thing I want you to see is this goes back to 1979. Voyager went really close and took this shot of the great red spot. And it shows that the planet is spinning in this direction, and the wind is hitting a mound here and spinning off to the side. That's what's going on. That's why it spins off, because this is literally Venus Mons, a mound on Venus. And this was the shape in 1979. Now it is changing dramatically since 2019, and they do not know why.
Do you need to make a change in your child's education? Don't wait. Virtual Preparatory Academy.
All right, you see the shape of it now? It's not that big shape like this. And now it's actually trailing off this red. You see the red? They said slabs of red debris was coming off of this, and they thought it was breaking up and going to be completely disassembled. All right, here it is right here, and here's the explanation. It says amateurs were watching this happen, and they tipped off to experts, and the experts said initially there was speculation the flaking of bits off the side indicated the spot was disintegrating. But in research published in the Journal of Geophysical Letters, scientists said the event was not a sign the spot was falling apart. Instead, it was caused by a series of smaller storms drifting across the top of the red spot. So on top of that little red spot, they drifted and they ripped off all these red big chunks, and it flowed off the top in a series of 6 days. Well, let's see what actually did happen. Okay, here's just a little bit of a warning. This is going to be a female body part in space in fairly large proportion. Be ready. You're ready. If you want to watch, watch. If you got kids you don't want them to watch, don't watch, because this is a vagina. And that is the giant red spot. Now, this was taken in 1979, and it was the shape of a normal vagina. All of
So, is he saying that planet was uh, some kind of beast, monster, um, living object, animal that had a birth canal? Huh. I have to think about that one.
of the body parts of the vagina are here, including the attachment in the anal area, even where the hair follicles start to show up on the edge. Every single bit of this anatomy is exactly correct. You see that little flap there? That's exactly what is on where it attaches down to the anus. These are literally exactly what the hair pattern would be on the edge. All right, I mean, I don't want to freak you out, but I don't see how you can help but be freaked out. This is an attachment, a regular, it's a strap.
Don't get freaked out.
It's a latch. You see this? This is the same sort of thing. All right, and what it does is it holds an organ or a body part into another body part. And in this case, it's holding the vagina literally into the buttocks with a flap just like that. And the lungs have them too. There's the same thing right there. That's the same strap. Same strap. Just like this. They all have it. It's called an interstitium now. And they just realized that was something that everything has to be held together with these straps. And that's where all the fluids go. This is the shape of the vagina, which is the great red spot back in 1979. And by, anatomically, it is absolutely identical. All right, and there's that spot right there that we're talking about, that little latch. Here's where the hair starts right around the edge, which I showed you that. This is called the Venus Mons, the mound of Venus. That's, I didn't name it. They call it the Venus Mons. And it's swelling up, which means that the clouds are beginning to spin faster. And as it swells up, the reason it's swelling up is it appears to look like it's ready to give birth. Now you see what it looks like here. All right, the cigar shape. And here's what happened in 5 days. Back in 2019, it turned round like that, and it turned, you can see the little cervix, it looks like to me. And then it did this, and then it started sloughing big chunks of blood off of it. Red, look, see all the red stuff coming off? And they were saying, wow, look at all this red stuff. And it turned totally round right here. Now, what does that indicate to me? Well, it indicates to me that, first of all, it is swollen up like this. The mound has come swollen up like this. It's the same size as our Earth, basically, and the Earth would come out of there the same way.
It sounds to me like it's going through its menstrual cycle. From what I've seen, he's describing is it's going through its menstrual cycle, but then again, what the hell do I know? Not much.
When it swole up, the clouds have to go faster as they go by it, because that's just the nature of the dynamics of these interactions with the clouds. All right, so here it is now. All right, it's spinning in this direction. So the planet's going that way, the clouds are coming this way. So they're impacting this mound. This was never a storm, it was just a mound. It's not swirling. It's the clouds are going past it and swirling away. That's all it is. Now, as it gets bigger, they have to go faster because it's pinching. This is a borderline up here. And that is the interaction of the zones of the central zone, the lower zone, and the upper zone as it's impacting through space. They create magnetic fields that separate each other. That's a whole nother issue, but I'm certainly willing to go there if somebody wants to. Now, this is what's happening now is it turned completely round. The winds are going much faster, and it sloughed off a whole bunch of red blood. That, I don't know how else you can take it other than it's getting ready to give birth. Now, this is one that's here on Earth, and this is a Tracian cave. This is cervix in the back. This right here is, I can't remember the name they call it, but it's where the blastula comes back together. They might call it a vegetal seam. I can't remember. But this little tiny seam right here is where the ball of the cells grows like this from the, and then it gets to a certain stage and it goes bloop inside and it wraps around, and that's what makes the cavity inside, and that's the seam. And when they dry out, they crack right on that. I think I called it the vegetal wall. No, look at this. This giant died giving birth, or was about to give birth. I believe that's the baby's face right there, and that's his arm. It comes up here. The shoulder was here. These little flakes that are coming around it here, that's because it's just pushed through the wall of the vagina. Over here, you see how nice and smooth it is? It's got the vagina ripples. That's the normal way the vagina is. But this one here is what they call a coffin birth, where the baby's being forced to be ejected through the easiest place to get out of. And it was there. Right? This is his eyeball, his little chin, his nose, all that stuff. And they're
I wish he would have zoomed in so we could see that stuff. I can't see what he's saying myself, but I don't know. We'll see.
may even be another one here. I don't know. But this is what it is. That these things are real, and it's time to take this into account. Okay, so like I said, I don't want to freak anybody out, but I think we should be having a deep discussion about what all these things of the past might have any meaning in the future. I mean, something's going on here, and I can tell you what, something deep is going on as far as I'm concerned. And if we just dismiss it because it's too hard to think about, well, that's just not the way I do things. So if you want to hang around here, that's the way we're going to have to do things.
All right. Well, we got another video queued up here. Completely different subject, different thought. And the name of this video is titled What's Inside America's Abandoned Nuclear Sites? Full episode brought to you by Vice. Please like, subscribe, and share. Tell them Larry James sent you, 965. The video is used for entertainment, educational, and fair use. Thank you. Have a great day.
I assume there's some sort of view, like really pretty view, but I can't look because I feel like I'll fall to my death. If you go a little bit that way or a little bit that way, big consequences. I want to see if I can stand up on this. Okay. I don't like this feeling. I thought I might like it, but I don't. Maybe this is better. Oh, God.
Hey, Erm. Welcome to the chat, to the broadcast. It's good to see you, bud. I'm hoping you're having a good weekend also, and thank you for the happy weekend. No doubt about it. How you doing today, bud? please remove it from the device list and reset it and add it to your account. So what are you going to be planning today, bud? We'll start back up the video here until the chat gets rolling. Royal City, Washington. I wonder if that's state or DC.
Where I'm standing right now is basically a farmer's junkyard. But below my feet under the ground is a military junkyard. It's a Titan I nuclear missile silo.
What?
Literally right under our feet, there were nuclear bombs. There were 3 nuclear bombs right here. I can understand why so many people were so paranoid during the Cold War, because not only were they afraid of nuclear bombs coming from Russia, but they were living on top of nuclear bombs. It's a scary, scary thought.
A scientific thunderbolt gives a preview of its destructive force.
I don't know. I've heard that, and I don't know what to think. I haven't investigated it very much, but a lot of people say nuclear bombs and all that aren't true, that none of them ever existed. I don't know what to believe. Maybe I'll research it someday. I'm not sure if I will or not, but kind of interesting. Is that just another lie that they've told us? Is that just another fear tactic to make them believe, that we have this thing that could destroy our whole planet?
You know how bad sunburn can feel. The atomic bomb flash could burn you worse than a terrible sunburn, especially where you're not covered. If you had some plutonium inside you wouldn't make any plans to celebrate the event. Plutonium's half-life is 24,000 years.
After World War II, people lost their minds with nuclear hysteria.
With warning and without any warning.
The insane power of the atom bomb had been unleashed on Japan, and the US wasted no time jumping into an all-out arms race with the Soviet Union,
requiring a full retaliatory response upon the Soviet Union.
A traditional show of power by the Russians.
But no one pulled the trigger because they knew the other side would destroy them too. It was known as MAD, Mutually Assured Destruction. When the Soviet Union fell in '91, the Cold War was officially a 4 decades-long bluff. Probably the most expensive bluff in human history. The US spent trillions stockpiling their arsenal, but they're in no hurry to clean up the mess. That's why places like the Titan I nuclear missile silo have been left abandoned in remote places all over America. I invited Christian Allen to join me. He's a Cold War buff who grew up in a proud military family.
It's crazy, like a scene from a zombie movie.
For him, visiting an abandoned missile silo is high on his bucket list. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in southern Alaska, just outside of Elmendorf Air Force Base.
You're like right next door to
yeah, I could see
Russia.
Russia from my house.
Yeah, that's a famous
Um,
quote.
Growing up in the 80s, you know, it wasn't really a case of if nuclear war was going to happen. It was like kind of when nuclear war was going to happen.
That was the sentiment, like people felt that way.
It was a thing that you prepared for, just like you prepared for earthquakes. You know, you knew where the fallout shelters were, you know, where to go in the school, you know, how to sit, how to cover your head.
Do you think there's a general paranoia in America that nuclear war will happen?
I don't think so much anymore. I think we've replaced nuclear war with other boogeymen.
Right.
I don't think it's as heightened as it was.
Boogeyman.
Maybe that's even
That
a
a
bad thing
clue?
because, you know, there are still tons of nuclear weapons out there.
Right, yeah. Tours of old nuclear facilities are hard to come by, but the caretaker of this site, David Burns, has made a business out of it.
Well, today we're going to go down inside the Titan I missile complex.
Okay.
Show you guys some of the stuff most people don't ever get to see.
David said the complex took over 3 years to build in the late 50s, but it was shut down almost immediately. And why'd they shut it down?
Because it was actually obsolete when they were finishing construction. They were developing other technologies so quickly that it was pointless to keep this one around.
This missile silo is one of hundreds across the US that were already out of date by the time they were ready for action.
Well, this is the personnel entrance to the launcher.
This thing's not going to fall on our head, is it?
Oh, you wouldn't know it if it did. So this was the freight elevator to bring everything into the silo?
Yep.
Whoa. This stairwell doesn't feel very solid.
So this room is a powerhouse. It's big.
This is a big room. Feels like a movie theater. People used to live here?
Yes, so this complex had 12 people assigned here, 2 officers and 10 enlisted men, and they lived and ate and did everything. And
They just stayed in here.
They stayed in here, yep.
So we're in the tunnels that connect everything.
Right in the main hub.
I think I've had a nightmare about this tunnel at some point.
Would it have looked pretty much just like this when it was operational? Maybe a little nicer paint job or something?
Most of this would be full of wires.
Would these rockets that were here, would they be meant for stopping rockets from coming here or just shooting off into land?
These were purely offensive, so they were just designed to shoot a really big warhead over into the Soviet Union somewhere. I believe these warheads were like 3.75 megatons, which is about 250 times the Hiroshima bomb.
Really? And they were sitting here.
And there was 3 of them sitting here, yeah.
Revive your chainsaw like a pro with our chainsaw chain sharpening jig. Our innovative tool is designed to save you time and effort while providing precise sharpening that ensures every tooth is repaired to perfection. Using our chainsaw chain sharpening jig is as easy as 1 to 2 to 3. Simply attach your chain.
This is where the radar antennas would come down. You can see the tracks. There's 3 tracks on the side.
So people who live near these silos probably don't feel the safest.
I was talking to a old gentleman at the restaurant in town, and he said growing up, he would be out playing in the yard, and he'd all of a sudden see a 90-foot missile coming up, and they never knew if it was a test or if it was a real thing, and so they would just keep their eye on them. And if these missiles ever left, that meant World War III was happening right then.
That's spooky. It's pretty interesting to see how much work went into these places. It's kind of crazy that it was only used for about 2 years. And even then, it wasn't really being used. It's like a huge waste of resources and money and energy.
Right up here, we're going to just spot where all the floor is on the suspension. So it's not actually touching underneath, it's just hanging from the ceiling.
Oh.
So that this part of the complex could take a shock, and this would just ride it out.
And we can make it rock?
You can make it rock if you're good at teamwork.
Right, look. Oh, wow. This room is rocking.
Well, this is classic military. You notice what these two are, right? You're sitting there and I'm sitting here.
Yeah. This is how the military works? Hey, brother. Hey, how's it going? The complex seemed endless, but we'd only seen half of it. To see the rest, we had to climb all the way back to the surface. That's when David suggested a wardrobe change. We're getting changed into wetsuits because there's chest-high water in there apparently, and it's really cold. How's the view? I'm ready to enter the missile silo. Oh, it is cold. Oh, yeah. I feel like I'm in the coolest sci-fi movie.
Oddly beautiful. Yeah, I didn't expect it to be like pretty.
Oh, the armpits don't like the cold. How many stories is that?
It's about 11 stories straight down.
I'm feeling like a fear of heights right now, even though I'm in water.
Yeah, it's like your rational brain says if you fall, you can just swim, but your eyeball says it's a long ways down.
This shaft once held a 100-foot long, 110-ton intercontinental ballistic missile. Now, it's a giant underwater playground for scuba divers.
How you doing today, Nubs? Good to see you, bud. I'm sure it is. I don't know, what do you think, man? Do you think we really have nuclear bombs? Some people say that they don't exist. What do you think?
I have a sinking feeling that I'm gonna have to jump into this water from the top, just because it's a nuclear missile silo, and when you're in a nuclear missile silo that's full of water, you gotta dive in. Okay, I'm gonna jump off of this thing.
You're high.
Yeah, it's pretty high. I can't see the water with the legs. All right, I'm gonna go.
Well, I mean, I've been through Arizona, and supposedly there was nuclear bomb testing in Arizona. And when I was going through it on some backwoods highway out in the middle of nowhere, I was looking at the ground, and to me, it looked like the ground had been permanently scorched. After I got home, the places I saw that was scorched, they said that that's where the testing was done. So that kind of, I guess, had me leaning towards that story was true. But then again, I could honestly see how it's just another big scare tactic. And then we got, Hiroshima and all those other stories. I don't know. It's just interesting. And the saddest part is, they lie to us so much, it's hard to know what's true and not.
I couldn't see the water. My eyes were open when I hit the water. Holy shit. Dude, I didn't think this was gonna be so fun.
Yeah. I don't know. Good morning, Vietnam. Nubs.
Good morning, Vietnam.
How you
Yeah,
doing there, bud?
honestly, man, I don't know. I really don't know. I have my speculations. I don't personally think that, but there's a lot of things that I don't know.
Yeah, well, like I said, I think the saddest part is they've lied to us so many times. You have to like look at everything with a grain of salt and figure out, is it just another fear tactic or did it happen? Did it happen? Is it going to happen? Has it happened? Will it happen? They keep saying that we're going to get into this nuclear war with Russia and all this other stuff. And I think that that's a big scare tactic. I think if those things really did exist and if they could do as much damage as they say they can, I hope and I feel that, we wouldn't destroy ourselves to prove that we're the supreme ruler or some fucking stupid thing. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think that when you take that kind of thought into context, you know, I'm not saying that there's no, there's no finding to it or anything like that. However, if you do the same thing or the same types of thing, let's say there's a railroad car that's driving past your house filled with, oh, I don't know, let's say liquid gas. That liquid gas has more explosive potential power with a train loaded with it than most nuclear bombs. So if we're really concerned about things, we don't do a very good job of showing it.
Right. And that's just because that gas is under pressure in a steel container, right?
It's because it has the potential power to blow the fuck up. Kind of like that vinyl chloride in East Palestine. Vinyl chloride is made or is used in all sorts of plastic production. And we talk about how, oh, it's so horrible, but yet we're still shipping fucking shit tons literally across our country. And it's going through neighborhoods like yours. It's going through neighborhoods like mine. I don't have train tracks too far away, within 5 miles.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting after all these accidents and stuff. I was outside and I heard the train coming, and so I thought, I'm going to look and see what's going by because we have both freight and passenger trains that go on the same track, and there must have been 60 damn container trains, full of, I don't know, milk, who knows, oil. I'm not sure. But
And that's the thing.
It was kind of weird because before that, I'd only see, one or two or something. And now all of a sudden there's all this shitload of tanker trains.
Well, that's the thing. It's cheaper to run. The thing is I have family in the railroad industry and not in the railroad industry, but they were. Those trains are designed to run efficiently with like 4 people on them. That's it. Is it safe?
Yeah,
Fuck
it's
no.
a lot cheaper to transport stuff on trains because if they need more room, they just, put another cart on there and another fucking locomotive and with millions of miles of track and them, not having to worry about, traffic jams and shit like we do on our highways.
Right. We have to yield to them when they go through.
And if you I personally have noticed every time our economy basically goes to shit, the railway company makes hands over fist money because they can offer that transportation a lot cheaper.
Absolutely.
I
have family that was directly related or directly involved in the scheduling of trains. He doesn't do that anymore. I don't know whether it was just the job ended or it was that he had a conscientious or just better money somewhere else. One of those three. Nevertheless, he would put, for instance, let's say he had grain in one car, milk in the second, vinyl chloride in the third, and natural gas in the fourth. You know, obviously we're going to keep the milk together for the most part, but what if one milk comes in at XYZ and another milk comes in at ABC? That ABC is going to be at the end of the fucking train, not next to the XYZ car. Does that make sense?
Right. Oh yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
You know, so it could be that you have milk, grain, vinyl chloride, milk, grain, vinyl. You know, it doesn't really matter which, because they're individual.
Right.
It's like a line of wheelbarrows, only on steroids.
Right.
You know, and that.
Oh, I was just going to say, my mom's dad worked for the railroad company too. He didn't really tell me too much about, you know, how they worked and stuff. But one thing I do got to say, I believe, lack of better words, they don't make men like they used to, because he worked in the railway company for 40 years or something. And after about 10 years of being there, he got smushed in between two cars, and he basically fractured both of his hips, you know, crushed both of his hips. They told him they'd never walk again. He got surgery, and I think within like 8 months he was back to work and worked another 30 years.
Well, I mean, you take, for instance, I'm not saying I'm a man's man or anything like that, but if you take what I do in an average day, take, for instance, yesterday, I fucked up on a wall. I fucked up on a big retaining, well, not a big retaining wall, probably 15, 20 feet. So not huge by any means. Not the one that's going to make my fucking year by any means. Nevertheless, retaining wall block, especially Chilton, is fucking heavy. Like, that shit's really, really, really fucking heavy. Right. And I fucked up on the wall. I built the wall, and it was in the wrong spot. I was 5 feet off. I didn't measure. I used my, I don't even know, the shit end of my brain, apparently. But yesterday, I took that wall down. I re-excavated where it was supposed to, or I excavated where it's supposed to be, including the entire area of the shed, which is a 10 by 12. So, you know, 120 square foot, 3 inches worth of dirt. And then the wall, which that I had to dig down probably good 8-10 inches easily. And then, like I said, tear that wall out and replace that wall. And it's not like you can take the top block and put it at the bottom spot. You know, it doesn't really work out that way. Long story short is that pallet of block, it was an entire pallet, was moved 3 times yesterday. So I moved the equivalent of 3 pallets worth of stone, plus did, you know, probably about 4 or 5 yards worth of dirt, you know, because it wasn't just the dirt that I dug. It was also all the dirt that was already dug that I had to remove. You know, it was a fiasco. It took me about 4 hours, and 2 years ago, that would have taken me 3 days. Well, maybe not 3, but definitely a full day, if not a day and a half. You know, it boils down to they don't make men like they used to because men do not have the drive that they used to. You know, when you're an independent business owner and the only fucking Superman that's going to show up is you.
Yeah.
Like, right. I am the labor department. I have dug Well, the trench at that job site was, or the reservoir was 3 feet by 3 feet by 5 feet, straight down. And then the corresponding trench was about 30 feet, approximately 4 feet down to nothing, because obviously you want to angle your trench. But that was an endeavor. I made, actually, here, I'll send it to you. Give me 1 second here. There, I just sent you a picture.
See how long it takes. It's weird, man. Sometimes I can't figure these damn phones out. It's like sometimes you'll send a message and it'll be just as soon as you click, go, it's there, and then other times it's like 3 hours later, or you don't get it till the next day. It's like, did you get that message I sent you? You're like, no, and then you wake up next morning and all of a sudden that message is there. That a garden bed?
That is a flower box. Yep.
Yeah.
It's 4 feet by 16, and then whatever tall. It's like 7 tall.
Wow. Yeah, I was looking at some garden trellis. It was a couple days ago at Bimart, and it was like next to nothing, and they wanted $130 for it, and it was pretty damn small. I'm like, holy shit!
Do you know how much wood is sitting there?
Not, it didn't look like that much to me.
No, I'm saying in my picture. Do you know how much?
Oh, I can see that. Yeah, that's a lot of wood.
That's $700 worth of wood.
Yeah. I went down to this place we have right down the street. It's called Bring. It's where they gather up old, equipment, boards, plumbing, electrical, basically, and resell it. And they got some like boards down there. To me, it looked like they were milled, into flat boards and then not made into 2x4s or whatever. And they still have some of the bark on it. Like it's just like right below the exterior of the bark. Just took that top layer of the bark off type thing. And I'm thinking about grabbing a whole bunch of them and making 2x4s out of them because I think it'd be a lot cheaper to do it that way than to go buy them. Because I figured it'd probably cost me $200 or $300 just in 2x4s to make a frame for the shed I got to make.
I would definitely, if you get those, when you do them, after you get them all milled out and everything, I would look into Shishugiban. It's a Japanese form of burning wood. So what you do is you burn the soft material out of the wood with like a blowtorch. Then you go back through and you brush out all that soft material, and then you apply linseed oil to it. And dude, I'm telling you,
to preserve it. Yeah.
It makes it, I wouldn't say fire resistant, but it makes it more resistant to fire. But what it really does is it keeps it from getting mold or rot or anything like that.
Yeah, there's down there they had a bunch of old gym lockers too, and I can't really understand how they price some of this shit because some of the shit's just astronomically expensive and others are pretty damn cheap. But they had this one gym locker and it was $600 and it was only about 6-8 feet long, and as tall as the damn lockers are. And then they had these other ones. They were basically it's the same good a shape. They were just, drawn on or painted on 100 times or whatever, and they were only like $50 or something.
So you get the $50 one, you repaint it, and you bring it back,
Right.
and you sell it back to them for 300, and they sell it for $6.
Yeah. No, I want to get some to put like the batteries in and stuff. I want a metal
Metal cart.
enclosure, so if anything happens, you know, it's pretty well contained.
That makes sense.
And that's why I was wondering what'd be the best thing to use for walls, because I want to try to make it so if something did happen, you know, that I have time to take care of it instead of just going up like a tinderbox.
Right. I would definitely say having stuff to put out those kind of fires would probably be well worth your time.
Yeah, well, what I'm gonna do is after I get it all done, I'll put some cameras up in there
Earlier.
too to monitor it, you know, 24/7. Maybe even
Right.
put some kind of alarm system that's interconnected, so I get notified if there's smoke or something in
Well,
there.
they have hardwire smoke alarms that are Bluetooth operable,
Yeah.
and they also, I think they actually run on Wi-Fi, not Bluetooth. Regardless, so that could definitely be an option. And then they also, what was the other thing? They also have CCTV. Like I picked one up. It's literally just a camera and a Wi-Fi, and I think it was $12, and the app is free. So
Where'd you get that from?
Menards, you can get them for super fucking cheap. It's just a live feed. That's all it is. It's no recording. You can pay for the recording, but it's just literally the live feed.
Yeah.
And it looks.
Yeah, I think I might have to get a new security system. I mean, I don't know. It's weird. It shows on my monitor and it records and everything, but I can't hook my app to it. I spent all day yesterday redoing all my wires because when I first put them in, I just put them through this one window, and in the window, you know, it'd be stuck open. So anyway, I did it right yesterday. Redid everything, and I still can't get my damn app to hook up to it. And without the app, I can't basically share my recording, or, you know, like say if somebody came and robbed my house or whatever, I couldn't show that recording to the police or whoever.
Right, it's just
show it
alive.
to. Right. I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. I'm try to play with it more. I talked to the company that I bought it from, and they told me to do a few things, and it seems to be now worse than it was because it's showing that my recorder's on my app, but yet there's nothing there. And then I go to add it, and it says it's there. So I don't know what the hell to do now.
You got a piece of black tape over the finder or the recording?
No, what's happening now when I open the app, before when I opened the app, it would show the recorder, and then you hit the recorder and it'd go to your live view. Well, then yesterday when I see the recorder, I'd hit it and it say it couldn't connect.
Yeah, right there.
My little kitten got into a fly trap, one of the sticky ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. She a naughty kitty.
So did she end up with the appendage fly trap?
That she did. I ripped that off yesterday. She was not very happy. My
Look
beautiful.
at you like, why in the hell did you do that to me?
Pretty much. Actually, she was pretty good. Honestly, she realized she was in a pickle and realized that she wasn't going nowhere quick, and so she let us take the stuff off of her. She didn't meow too much when we had her in the bathtub, but a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of like a while back, my dog hurt his paw somehow, and he was starting to limp. So I looked at it because I noticed, him limping, and I seen that the sore was starting to get affected. So, I had to clean it all out. And he's a grumpy old fuck anyway. And there was a couple times he's all like, "Hey, motherfucker, this shit hurts," but you could tell that he knew I was helping him.
Right. They
And
know.
it was kind of cool though, because after that, it's like he had not too long ago got another sore. I think he got off the leash one day, and I think he got in a fight because he had this like open wound in the back of his leg. I think he got in tussle with a fighting dog because that's usually one of their traits is they try to take the leg out first. And that's the only wound he had, but so I had to take care of that too. But when I went to do that one, he was a lot like, "Okay, I know what you're doing. I know it's gonna hurt, but I know you're helping me out."
Well, it's trust.
Yeah.
When my dog went out and attacked another dog, he got out of my house, and my girlfriend was here, and basically ran over and attacked the other dog full on. Thank God the other dog was a large dog filled with hair, so that dog didn't have a single bit of damage. I mean, but my dog's face right here on the bridge of his nose, on his snout, the dog had gotten in and done one of these back and forth, so all that skin was damaged around, and so we had to do a lot of draining of a lot of nasty shit. It was fucking gross, but he trusts me more now than he did then, because of it, because he obviously feels better and his snout is not puffy and everything like that. But the way I look at it is I'm not necessarily, unless it's an emergency, like a real big emergency, I'm not bringing them in to have them do what I can do and what I know how to do and what I've done for years and years. Like I grew up in the cities. I've dealt with dogs that were in fights consistently, not mine, but nevertheless. And they do give you a trust when you show how much you care.
Right. Yeah, I don't like. There was one time I was helping somebody put in this wood floor, and this old man had this like razor sharp fucking chisel, and he was flying all over the room with that thing. I'm like, "Here, give me that thing. You're gonna chop your finger off." As soon as I grabbed it, I fucking went on my damn hand and fucking split my thumb open, and I could see my fucking bone. And he's like, "Oh, let's go to the hospital. Let's go to the hospital." I'm like, "Give me a fucking towel. Let me wrap that son of a bitch up, and I'm fucking going back to work." And he looked at me like I'm crazy, and he's like, "Whoa, aren't you gonna get that, fucking sewed up?" I'm like, "No, I've done it a million times." I'm like, "Unless I'm fucking bleeding to death, I ain't going to the fucking hospital, because one thing, I can't afford it."
Well, when I chopped my fingertip off, I was actually working, so I had to go to be cleared for legal matters.
Right.
And when I got there, I had already had the bleeding stop, so I went from top of priority to the bottom of the priority, and the guy that had the fucking flu got in before I did.
Bullshit.
But they brought me back. I've told the story a million times. They brought me back and they were like, "Oh, well, it's all filled with, what's all this green stuff in here?" And I was like, "That's what stopped the bleeding." "Well, what is it?" And I explained the herbs that it was, and they're like, "Oh, well, why did you put that on there? Aren't you the medical professional? Don't you know that this stops blood?" No, I didn't know that. What is that? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. They washed it off real quick. And basically, because I waited 3 hours, there was no hope for the little fingertip to be reattached or anything. And even if it was, it would be the same fucking damage as if it wasn't. But I went through that whole experience with going to the doctors, them telling me I was fucking nuts and me leaving and then getting just fine. In fact, like I've said so many times, I gained back at least an 1/8 of an inch, if not a 1/2 an inch worth of finger.
Yeah.
You know, so if the medical departments are so fucking great, well, I found something that's much greater. You know, and as far as animals and stuff, a lot of the same herbs that work for us work for them.
Yeah. Right.
Much like plantain. Plantain, whenever any of my animals get sick, I always go grab some plantain, put it in their water.
But, you know, Nubs, I gotta tell you, I don't know what the hell you're thinking. You should know by now, unless you're given a pill and it told you to go on your way, you're not cured, and you'll never be cured until you take that damn pill, damn it.
Well, those pills have killed lots of people that I know, so until that
How
stops.
dare you say such conjecture? Bah humbug. Ba-da-ba-dum.
When my mom was passing, they had her on so many fucking different drugs and everything like that. I came in with my natural remedies. She was already in hospice, so she made the choice to basically go along the natural path. Sometimes she would take some pain medication because obviously it hurt. Nevertheless, it was really interesting to watch the two basically battle. You know, she would be very loopy when she'd be on the medication, and then I'd go take those medications out using different herbs, and you could see the clarity of mind come back. It was weird.
Well, I know, I mean, from what I understand, my mom lost her first lung, I don't know, like in her 40s or something, 30s or 40s. And I didn't know that till after she passed away. But I believe that the hospital basically killed my mother because she went in there one night, you know, had hard time breathing or whatever, and took them 15 hours, you know, to see her. And basically within a half hour, they're like, "Oh, you're fine, you know, go home." And she went home, and about 4 hours later, she went back to the hospital, and within an hour, she was in this medical induced coma. And it's like they're giving her all of her psych drugs and all this other bullshit. And I'm thinking, why give her this shit if she's in a medical coma?
Right.
It doesn't make much sense to me, but, you know, what do I know? I'm just some fucking old stoner.
Withdrawals are a motherfucker, even when you aren't aware.
I understand that, but at the same time, for one, I believe a few hours without this medicine or drug or whatever you fucking want to call it, you're not going to go within, you know, with these withdrawals that quickly, for one. And two, if you're induced in a medical coma, I would believe the side effects are going to be a lot less.
Well, just remember, you're some silly stoner that doesn't know anything, and they're doctors and they're practicing.
Well, I do know two things. I know which way's left and which way's right. Don't.
But do you really though? You think you do because you've been told by another person that this is left and this is right. But what if right is really north and left is really south?
I was just going to say, you know, my right could be my left and my left could be my right. So you never know which way we're going to go.
Right. I mean, you could be very inventive and when problems come up, build a minivan like mine.
Hey, hang on for a second. I got to let Buster outside.
What exactly am I hanging on to?
Whatever you want.
I might drop the camera.
All right, I'm back. Hey, is there something a person can take to help uh, regenerate your red blood cells?
Of course there is.
Well, the reason I'm asking is Wolf Lady had to get a transfusion not too long ago because they say that her red blood cells are collapsing. And now they just told her she's got to go and get 3 transfusions done in a week because it's so bad. And it just seems kind of fishy to me.
They're saying that her plate or her red blood cells are low
or collapsing.
Just off of the top of my head, and don't quote me on this, do your own research. I would say that probably nitric oxide would help with that, because I think it's not KNO2. Yeah, nitric oxide. Basically, it allows your blood to hold more oxygen. But I'm not a fucking doctor by any means. I do know that parsley cleans the blood. So having parsley could potentially filter out those bad cells. I don't know for sure. Do your own research. But beetroot, there's a product out there. It's called Super Beets. That would definitely, when you said about the platelet and everything, or the red blood cells, I would say that would probably be where I would start looking into is beets, and not the name brand for the speakers or anything, but actual beets.
Right. Yeah.
That's where I would start with my research. I wouldn't just go buy something arbitrarily. I would definitely do some more research. And, if we wanted to have a conversation, I'd say let's have that conversation privately.
Right.
But off the top of my head, that's where I was thinking along the lines of, I would have to know a lot more information, and that's a private conversation anyways.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Well, with my dealings with the medical field and things I've learned along the way, I tend not to believe what half the shit they're saying. Because like with me personally, it took them for 15 years, 10 years, 15 years, they were telling me, nothing was wrong with my shoulders, that it was all in my head, that I'm fucking crazy basically. And after a while, after 10 or 15 years, you start thinking, well, maybe I am crazy. And then when you go to this doctor and they just take, simple x-rays, and she shows me what she's seeing in these x-rays, that I have fucking over a half-inch of calcium deposits on my shoulder sockets. And that's why it's so fucking painful. because basically bone and bone are grinding together. You know, it's like I cried for over an hour because it's like somebody finally seen, you know, that there is something wrong with me.
Well, Larry, think about it. Anytime that you have an issue like that, if you don't trust yourself first and foremost, why would you ever trust a doctor? You know your body better than that doctor does, even though that doctor studied bodies for living. That doctor doesn't know what hurts inside of you. He knows what causes hurt inside of you.
Well, and the thing is that really flabbergasted me was to come to find out, you know, kind of like what you're saying, when you go to the doctor just basically guesses. You tell him, you know, what you're feeling or what you're experiencing or what's happening and not happening. And then he puts them all in a column and says, oh, well, this could be the problem with you. Then this is most likely what's happening. It's not, this is your problem. And this is how we'll fix it, you know.
That's because they're practicing medicine.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like other people practice spirituality and have none.
Yeah. We won't mention names.
Just like people have the practice of discernment but don't have it. Or the practice of diligence, or the practice of, you know, it all comes down to practices. What are you practicing and what are you doing? Because practicing and doing are two different things.
Right. Have you personally ever gone to a chiropractor?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You think they're pretty good?
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Chiropractor actually, in my experience, when I've ever gone to a chiropractor, there is instantaneous relief, because if there's any doctor that knows the body, the chiropractor is the one that studies the spine the most.
Right, but what kind of baffles me is why don't they actually have any type of medical degree?
For the same reason that you can't go to a homeopathic doctor without having practice in his title.
I think I see what you're saying.
Like, a chiropractor doesn't practice on you, he fixes you. He's not practicing. If he cracks your bones, that's not practicing. That is physical interaction. And if he does it wrong, you could be paralyzed. Pretty sure.
Right. Yeah, I've never gone to a chiropractor. I went to acupuncture once, and I didn't have a good experience with that at all.
No, go to a chiropractor, and if you get a good chiropractor, go in and look at the process that they use. If they use, if they bring up a little thing that looks like a syringe with a blunt point on the end, that's the chiropractor you want to go to. Because what that is it's basically a spring-loaded syringe without a needle. And the tip of it is about the size of my finger. And what it does is it hits your spine faster than he can crack it. So in other words, it actually fixes the micro adjustments that allow the blood to flow correctly, because that's the spine. If you think about it, the spine is literally the thing that sends information to the rest of your body completely. It has to go through the back of your neck and down your spine. Whether it transfers out at your shoulders or not, it always comes from right back here. That's the Santa Claus of the story. No, I'm serious. That's where that story comes from. It's the claustus. It's a part that is right here in the brain, and it's the top of the chimney of the spine. And then you have the Mary and Joseph would be the pineal gland and the pituitary gland, which give off the oils. The oil between the two of them, the milk and the honey, that would be the Christus oil, or the Christ within. That oil is what literally creates our body's ability to move. It produces testosterone once it hits the gut. It does all sorts of things, just all the way around. It's an interesting study.
Yeah, it's kind of like, oh, let's see, 2 years ago I was told that my prostate was about ready to explode, but I've been fine since.
Well, dude, if they're telling you that, I would definitely, if nothing else, go out to your local train tracks, which are quite close. You will find stinging nettle. Take that stinging nettle. It will help you dramatically. Do your own research. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not going to practice on you. You got to practice on you.
I could have swore I seen it say Doc Nubs.
Nope.
Yeah, piece of shit.
That's my title at Jack's and Jack's alone.
Oh, excuse-moi.
Yes, that is exclusively my Jack title.
Is that Sir Piece of Shit Nubs or Piece
Mr.
of Shit Sir Nubs? Oh,
Mr. Piece of Shit.
I got it. Inquiring minds needed to know.
Right.
So no work today?
It was raining earlier, and I've got holes to dig.
For yourself?
No, I'm still moving that building. I only got the first one in, unfortunately. But basically, that first one is the one that I need to set the whole building at. So from that point, I can actually measure out and get everything consistent and accurate.
You're actually moving a building?
Mm-hmm.
How big's the building?
10 by 12.
Oh, okay, not too bad then. I worked
No.
for a house moving company for a while. I thought it was pretty cool and interesting how they do that shit.
Yeah, this one is on fucking 6-inch steel. So basically the bottom of the frame is a framework of steel, 2 foot on center. And all we're doing is putting piers into the ground so that it's stable on the ground. And it was also, when they put it in, when they installed it originally, the guy has a little bit of hill, hence why the retaining wall. And they put it up on the hill and then just lifted the front. So it was like a 2.5 foot step up into the door. Why they did that, I don't have a fucking clue, but I'm okay with it because it's making me money.
Yeah. One of the coolest things we moved is we moved this house that was like, I don't know, 140 years old or something. Moved it from its original site to its new site, you know, where it was going to become a historic thing or something. I don't remember. But yeah, it was really cool how they did it. The company that was doing it was really good. They were really meticulous about, you know, making sure everything was level and everything was being lifted up at the same time so they didn't crack the, you know, frame or whatever of the house. And I had to sit on top of the roof and help get the damn power lines and light signals and shit out of the way. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, all we did with ours was we jacked it up just a smidge so that we could get rollers under there. And the rollers that we used were 4-inch PVC.
Oh, cool.
So you just put planks down, you jack it up, you put it, or you remove the state or the whatever it's sitting on, and then you let that jack down, it hits the roller, and then one man can push that building around without a problem.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
we did this one apartment complex. I think it was like 20 stories tall, and one corner of it was, I think, 3 inches lower than, the rest of it. That was kind of cool too, how they lifted just the one side and how they use all this different shit to make sure it's all level and stuff. I learned a lot. I mean, I could do some of it still. Some of it I'd have to, do some research and talk to maybe somebody to make sure I was doing it right. But overall, I got the general idea.
Right.
That's like a lot of people ask me, what's my profession, what kind of work I've done, and I'm like, I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. I've learned, a little bit of everything and a lot of nothing, and I forgot more than I'll ever know. But I know what I know, and I had to learn what I know because I could never afford to have somebody else do it.
Well, I would say that there's an aspect of, if you, much like leading your family, if you look to another man to lead your family, he's going to lead it the way he wants to.
Into his bedroom. I mean, yeah, you're right.
If that's the case, I mean, and what I'm talking about more is like politicians and stuff. They're gonna lead. That's what their role in. It's whether or not you want to follow that really, and so with anything, like for instance, that flower box, I've built a couple of them, but not like that. But I know how to build fences. And what's a fence but a flower box that contains the yard?
Right, right.
And so there's a lot of crossover that comes in. And, if I'm able to put $700 worth of material in and then charge an extra $300 or whatever, and charge that customer $1,000 and walk out of there in a couple of hours, I've made my due,
right.
Or for instance, with the trees we removed, that was nothing but labor. All of the cost was in labor, and I am the labor, and I'm the business owner or business partner. So that means that, in the grand scheme, hang on one second.
Dun, dun, dun.
Bath day for the puppies, and the puppies don't respond to the girlfriend like they respond to me. Shut your pie hole. Your bark hole is too loud.
Yeah, it's pretty sharp bark. Sharp
Well,
and shrill.
she's a sharp one. I wouldn't say smart, but she's sharp.
Right on.
Say hi, Daisy. Say hi to Larry.
Oh, hey, Buppy, how you doing, buddy? This way. Nope, the other way. Fuck you, he says. Hey, when I was down at that place the other day, they had a bunch of bags of this. It said natural compost, and it was fairly cheap. What do you think about getting that and using it in my flower bed?
I would.
Yeah, I was thinking of getting that instead of like regular, so-called dirt or whatever. I thought that would probably be a better.
Here's how I normally run compost is I'll throw it in like a 60-40 mix or a 50-50 mix. So you get one bag of regular soil, and then you get 1 bag of the compost and you mix them together
Right.
and create one mix. I also put things like bone meal, blood meal, calcium. What else do I put in? Mushroom compost. There's probably about 15 or 20 things that I use for a soil amendment that totally changes. I've done some lawns where, for instance, this guy was looking to sell his $1 million home. They built it, found out they had shitty neighbors, and they were like, nope, I'm not dealing with the shitty neighbors. So we're going to put up a nice fence and then we're going to sell it. So they had it on the market. I built a fence. The fence brought in some more traffic, but it was minimal. I mean, for what they paid for the fence and what they got, there wasn't. Well, they had paid to have a company come in and sod their yard, which is all well and good. That makes sense. It makes the yard beautiful. It's brand new, no weeds, no nothing. However, where the house is located is about 5 feet above the water line for the lake, and it's a huge fucking lake. So in other words, during flooding, massive flooding, their house would have been part of the lake bed.
Yeah.
Well, it's nothing but clay. So they have a clay slick that they're trying to grow grass on. It's not happening very well. The grass is dying out. The grass is getting flooded because that clay holds the water.
Right.
So I was like, all right, I've got a solution. You know, it's going to cost XYZ. He's like, that's way too much. I was like, just trust me. You trust me on this, and I guarantee you within a week, you'll be calling me for the backyard. Guaranteed, within the week. He's like, nah, I'm not going to do that. Called me within the week, said, yep, I'm eating my words. This grass is literally emerald green.
Yeah.
Because what I did was I went in and I adjusted all sorts of things, including breaking up some of the clay with different nutrients and stuff that it actually needed. And after that second application for the backyard, he sold it within the week. So 2 weeks from the time I went onto that property till it was sold. Guaranteed it was because of curb appeal.
Right. I got to go get the dogs.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I got to go outside here before too long. I bought one of those plastic type greenhouses, you know. I laid some of that garden cover down before I put the greenhouse on top of it, but I got a bunch of grass that grew through that damn. You're muted.
Did you kill the grass off first?
Yeah,
You killed the grass and then put the fabric down?
yeah, and it still came through.
That fabric, I have mixed feelings about that fabric. That fabric is really expensive, and if you get the good stuff, it's super expensive, and it actually works. But if you don't get the good stuff, if you get the plasticky fabric, this shit doesn't work.
It's kind of a cloth. I got it from my daughter, so it was free, so I didn't spend any money on it, which was cool. But
The stuff I use.
Go
The
ahead.
stuff that I use is it's the contractor grade, and I won't use any of the other stuff because my name is on that shit. And if in 2 weeks they have weeds popping from the bottom up, that's a bad product.
Yeah, it
You
took
know,
about
like,
it took almost a year for it to come through.
oh, well, that makes sense. Roots have grown. And roots, see, the way grass moves is it moves the root and then pops ahead, moves the root, pops ahead, moves the root, pops ahead. That's why you can have sod, because it creates a mesh like this. And you go through and you cut the bottom section and then you're able to roll it. And it creates a mat, literally.
So what's up with the damn Barca-Mulch nowadays? It seems like they got Barca-Mulch out there that's got like fiberglass in it or something.
I don't fuck with that stuff too much. That's more the landscaping maintenance end. So that's more along the lines of my business partner. He takes care of all the mowing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm all for that money though. Mulch is super cheap and super expensive to put down.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just seems like there's different, I don't know, I guess you'd call it grades of Barca-Mulch because, and I've even been in some parks, you know, where you go barefooted in the Barca-Mulch and it's like I said, it's like you got a bunch of fiberglass in the bottom of your feet and then you go in another one and it's fine.
I'd say anywhere that it comes from, as long as it's designed for it. There's also a new product. Well, it's not really new at all, but they're recycling tires to make mulch. And that's actually, as long as you keep it contained in your mulch beds, you're great. But if the weed whip or the mower hits that shit,
What do you
hang on
think
one
about
second.
though all that rubber leaching into the soil?
Hang on one second. All right. My business partner's trying to do business on the weekend and I don't like it.
What do you
I
think
actually
about
have to
though
work.
what do you think about though when you use the tires, all that rubber leaching into the soil? Or the oils and all the other bullshit that they make tires with?
I think a lot of that, there again, I don't have full knowledge of it, but I think a lot of that is treated with other chemicals that probably leach out into the soil. I like the concept. I don't know if I like the whole application and everything like that. Like it's like a new car. There's going to be some bad parts. There's going to be some maintenance issues, but you don't see any of that stuff. You just buy the fucking car.
Right. Well, that's what I like, you know, when I was watching all these, how they make those homes, you know, out of basically garbage, and a lot of them are using tires. And one I thought it was a good idea, but then, like I said, I would be worried about all that stuff that they use to make the tire with leaching back into my
The
soil.
off-gassing. Right. And I understand the off-gassing, and I think one of the things they do to directly prevent that is they'll put a clay slip up against, so it has to hit the clay and it gets absorbed into the clay, I guess is their thinking. I don't know exactly how all that works, personally, I would not use that as like my bedroom or something like that. I would definitely be willing to look into. Obviously, I brought the idea to the channel and everything, to a certain degree. Nevertheless, I think that there is a lot of validity to it. I just don't know if it would be for a home necessarily. I think there are better products out there that could do the same thing for less work. However, using tires, I like that concept. They're cheap, there's just a lot of fucking work that goes into them.
Says within 2 or 3 years, 90% of the chemicals that will leach out of the tire. So use old tires. So I guess basically he's saying an old tire will
That
have
makes
already
sense.
leached.
It's already
out
off
what it's
gassed.
gonna leached out, right?
Right. Yeah, I would definitely be willing to use something like that for like a living room purpose or something like that. My bedroom, though, it's a different story. You know, I'm not in the living room. I'm walking through the living room. I'm sitting in the living room for half an hour or something. So if it is off gassed, and a lot of those houses actually, they off gas it out. Like there's no reason that the gas would come in per se. I don't know. I'm definitely in the research process on it because, well, I want to build a house and I don't want to pay for it.
Right. Well, I did think that using the glass thing, you know, like glass bottles and jars and shit, was a really good idea. I think that's a very
Glass bricks are very
useful, very universal, and does more than one thing at one time. You know, you're using it as a filler, you're using it as light source.
Yep.
Could even be used as a heat source, you know, as the sun heats up the glass. I mean, there's a lot of, I feel a lot of advantages of, you know, using glass. But like you there again, I think, you know, the tires are basically used as a filler, and there are better fillers that you could possibly use.
Well, I've been looking a lot into that Styrocrete. That seems to be, and I know there's off gassing from styrofoam. I do know that. However, if it's a product designed to be around us, then that's definitely been taken into consideration. And most of the time with that stuff, at least, it's contained into a cell membrane that you create with the concrete. You know, and there's off gassing from that. There's off gassing for everything. And I guess I look at it this way. If I want to run around worrying about everything that could contain cancer in California, then I'm going to be a terrified man. And if I make a decision and it's the wrong decision, much like my retaining wall, sometimes you need to move the fucking wall.
Right.
And sometimes shit does not work out and you've spent all your time and all your effort and it just didn't fucking pan out. That's fucking life. What do you do next? You know, that's the determining factor, in my opinion, is what are your actions after you fucked up or after you've been successful? What are the actions? Because you can be successful and be a douchebag and still nobody would be like all about you. You know, you see what I'm saying? It's about somebody's actions, not necessarily what they do. Well, I guess it is from the get-go. If your actions are honorable, then your actions will be honorable consistently. If they are not, then they will consistently not be. You can't get something for nothing.
Right.
You know, like for instance, one of the things that I've been really focusing on my life as of lately is a discipline. Just in life, to be more disciplined in every aspect. Disciplined with my words, disciplined with my thoughts. If there's a thought that enters into my head and I look at it and I say that's a thought of laziness or lack, if it has L in the word, even the word love, you know, my intent by doing the work that I do is for love. So that's already included. You know, like that's in my side. And when I get out there and I build those walls, even if I do fuck them up, when I do build them correctly, I'm out there doing that for love. It's for the love for me first and foremost, then my family, then the customer, and then the community. Because all of these things are enwrapped or are part of the community.
Right. We have Ermin here has made a few comments. The one right after he said about the tires leaching, he says those houses are sealed tight and have central air moving around the houses. It's all a HVAC filtering, negative pressure.
Yep.
Basically, all new construction is done that way. Sealed the house up tight, no air gaps, and then uses HVAC to move the air around.
Yep. The HVAC systems that I'm going to be employing are very, very basic and rudimentary. I wouldn't even consider it HVAC. Basically, my plan is to create about a 200-foot tunnel underground, back and forth, because I don't want to dig 200 feet in a straight line. But you put that all underground and then put an access point, and then you have a high point that is done in glass that can lift. And when you lift it, all the hot air moves up and is replaced by cold air. And then it moves up into the column and continues to be a convection system, pulling cold air at the bottom and releasing it as hot air at the top. And there'll probably be multiple tunnels of multiple air conditioning. And I guess it would be HVAC because it would be conditioning the air. And obviously I would scrub it. There would be clean filters and whatnot in between. Nevertheless, I think it's a pretty good idea.
Yeah. And then he says you can use 12 volts for a lot of those AVACs now. Geothermal, he questions, and then he says, that's awesome, Nubs. I would love to do that with the greenhouse.
Let's do it, Erm. It can be a father and son project.
And you see, this has been good for me. My reading abilities are getting better.
That's because you're practicing.
No way! You mean that the story's true, practice makes perfect? No!
No, you make things perfect. It's through practice that you do.
Damn you.
That's why old Jackie boy calls me all sorts of bad names, because I tell him the truth.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of almost feel sorry for that man.
I absolutely do. Why do you think I show him the compassion I do?
I understand that.
I'm just not willing to give compassion in a manner that is, oh, it's okay, it's okay. No, that's not compassion. It's okay means that it's just a status quo. If it's just okay, then you're not doing well.
Yeah. So do you think I should take my greenhouse up and that tarp up and deal with the grass again before I start over?
How much grass is there?
It's not like, it's basically like weeds here and there. It's not like fully covered yet, but
Larry.
there's a fair amount.
Larry. Oh my
What?
gosh. Larry.
What?
You have two hands, right?
Okay.
Do you
Just
have
pull it up.
do you have a small knife?
Yeah.
Okay, anything that's on the tarp can easily be pulled just by moving it. Anything that has gotten between the tarps, move the tarp back. Don't cut the tarp. Don't cut the weed blocker. You move it, you take your little knife, you cut the root at about a 45-degree angle, and then they pop right out.
Okay,
The
yeah,
weed guard is designed not to block weeds. A weed blocker is really a misnomer. The concept behind it is a division of weeds. So you have the root growth on the bottom that'll pop weeds up, but if you have a constant tarp across, it doesn't have anywhere to pop up except at your seams. So if your seams are loose and you didn't, put some kind of spike in between and overlap, like 4 to 5 inches, then you're going to have weeds. In that case, go pull the weeds. They're not that difficult to pull. Now, trees, on the other hand, trees can be a little bit more difficult. But like I said, anything on top of that weed blocker, you should be able to remove with great ease.
right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking is getting the greenhouse up and then pulling the tarp up and then, like you're saying, pull the weeds out of the tarp.
You don't even need to pull the tarp up. Like, you don't need to do all that. Anywhere there's weeds on top of it, on the top of the weed guard, they are not, their roots are all surface roots because they can't penetrate through that weed guard unless it's a poor quality weed guard and is permeable.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying now. All right, that makes sense.
So the
I guess.
weeds, like let's say a dandelion floated in there and landed on your tarp and there was some dirt and it germinated. That dandelion doesn't have that taproot that goes down into the ground. All it does is it takes its nutrients from what's on top of that tarp or what can it leach through that tarp. But the weed root itself is flat as opposed to penetrating.
Right. Okay, I understand what you're saying now.
So that way there's going to be little micro roots that go into the tarp, and micro roots, if they don't get addressed, they will turn into big spots because a little micro root gets in there and grows and it expands. And a lot of the time what you'll have is you'll have a very small part that goes through the weed guard itself. And then the root will be big on top and the root will be big on the bottom at the same time. But through where it had to grow through is very, very small and constricted.
Right.
It's kind of funny.
No, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I got to get off here pretty soon and get out there and do that before it gets fucking hot. That's my mistake I made yesterday is by the time I got done doing the shit in here, I did some stuff outside and it was already fucking almost 80 degrees.
Well, if your greenhouse is running that hot, I would definitely get at least like a little box fan in there. Otherwise, you're going to burn everything up.
Yeah, no, I just basically, I usually leave the door open. I'm not really sure how hot the greenhouse itself gets. I'm just saying yesterday, when I went out to do stuff, it was 80 outside, but I usually will leave the door open. The only thing I'm using the house for basically is protect it from getting drowned when it rains.
Are you on your cell phone or you're on the computer, aren't you?
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you were on your cell phone, you could bring it out there. You have camera phone, right?
Oh, yeah.
When you go out there, take a couple of pictures and shoot them to me. And I'll let you know what the skinny is. I can see what it is from a picture.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Something that you might want to consider next year is on your weed blocker when you have a bunch of leaves that drop their or a bunch of trees that drop their leaves in the fall, take those leaves and bring them in and put them down and create a weed barrier with leaves as well.
Yeah, we don't have too many trees around here that have leaves. It's mostly pine needles.
You can do the same thing with pine. They're like down in Georgia and stuff. They use pine needles as mulch, bark mulch.
Yeah, we got
So-
some huge trees. I mean, not too far from me. They're probably, I don't know, good 10, 15 feet around.
10 to 15 feet around. That's pretty decent sized tree.
Yeah, and we got probably like 20 of them right along the street, right, not too far from me.
That's crazy.
They're a couple 100 feet tall.
Those trees that I just recently took down were, I think they were Scotch pine. No, they weren't Scotch pine. Never mind. They were, I don't even remember what they were. Anyways, they were about 50 feet and I nipped them at about 40. And then just what I did is I climbed it. And as I was climbing, I just took off branches because, I mean, obviously it's a pine tree. It all grows from one center point. So as I was climbing, I was clearing, and then I had people on the ground that as I was clearing, they were clearing it into piles and stuff. So it worked out pretty well. And then as I was coming, or once I got to the point where I nipped the top, I just kept on nipping as I was coming down. So it was like climb up once and chop it down.
Yeah,
Pretty
when I went,
successful.
I'm thinking about going back to bringing. They got a bunch of brand new roof shingles. You can get 4 inches of shingles for $1. So I'm thinking about investing a bunch for when I get this shed done.
4 oh, excuse me. 4 inches for $1. That's well worth it.
Yeah, I bought some a couple years ago when they had some down there, and yeah, I thought that was pretty damn cheap. And they got quite
Larry,
a bit of it.
just out of curiosity, would you be able to? I'm just thinking about your trailer and everything. You aren't planning on moving it anytime soon, are you?
I would like to, but no.
Well, think about this. If you do move or if you don't, both could be done. If you built something and you built it so that it was in pieces, so like your roof, you could build that roof. If you had, let's say you were doing a 4x8 sheet of plywood, you could cut it into 2-foot sections and then just seal it in between so that you could pull it apart. I guess, I don't know. Maybe I'm making things way too complicated, but my thought is wouldn't it be pretty easy to build a simple structure over top of the trailer and never have to worry about, things like rain or snow? Because your snow load or your rain load, I guess not really a load from rain, but your rain shedding and everything like that would be much more efficient if you built a simple roof structure, kind of like a pole building without any walls.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just the top roof.
Originally, from what I understand, there was a mobile home here where I'm at, and that's why I have one of the bigger spaces. Almost all the other trailers here have metal roofs over them. But yeah, I'm thinking about when I make this shed, I'm thinking about bolting it together. So when I do leave here, I can just basically, take it apart and put it up somewhere else.
Right. That's kind of what I was thinking. If you did 2 foot on center, that means that for each 4x8 sheet, if you did them vertically, you would have the weight of your sheeting. You would have the weight of the 2x4s, which there would be 4 of them, 3 vertically and 1 cut in half to catch your 8-footer or to catch your 4-footer. If you were to bolt those pieces together and actually design it on the outside, so it's the sheeting is covered. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, that way you could have panels as opposed to leaving it.
Right.
The roof would kind of be a bitch, but if you did metal roofing, that would greatly reduce the it would greatly reduce the weight. And you could do the metal sheeting on the outside very, very easily. You could get some trim coil and just put a seam in between the 2 pieces and just cut your trim or your coil to 8-foot pieces. And then, like I said, with that seam, you should be able to get in there without a problem. Just do a simple S seam, but a long S seam.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I kind of see what you're saying.
Basically making a modular building out of permanent building material.
Right.
Or the other option, this might be a much more viable option, is to look online and find one of those Rubbermaid sheds. Maybe on like Craigslist or something that somebody's selling, because you might be able to get something like that for cheaper than you could all the wood and time and material and effort, etc., etc. You know, because if something like that runs $500, let's say you spend $500 on your shed. Well, if you're going to build that out of wood and you buy new wood, you're probably talking about a $1,500 shed.
Right.
You know, so now we have an extra $1,000 to put into modifying that little plastic shed, you know, putting up some Durarock on the inside. Now there's another $500, but you've got your permanent / non-permanent shed, and each one of those pieces of Durarock can be unscrewed so that it's still light, etc. You know, like it would take a lot of planning. However, it would be possibly worth looking into. The other option that I see being even more viable is, instead of getting a shed, doing a simple hoop house, like a greenhouse, and just using it as a shed.
Yeah, I've never dealt with any of those rubber sheds you're talking about, but that might be a good idea. I've had a few of those metal ones you put together, and those are just pieces of shit, I think.
They're pieces of shit, but with a little bit of ingenuity that you already possess, they can actually be pretty decent.
They take forever to put up, and then I don't know. I think that rubber one's a better idea because it'd be more sealed, for one, you know, and then you could adhere to it as you wish. With the metal ones, you're basically, you know, you have a million pieces, you got to put it all together, and
it's the same thing with the Rubbermaid. The Rubbermaid sheds are the same designs, etc. Like the instruction manual between one to the other is pretty much the same. It's the material that changes.
Yeah, I wasn't
They
sure.
do seal up a little bit better. However, with that being said, the irony there is we have Flex Seal.
Right.
So you take that Flex Seal and you spray it on the inside. You have a respirator because you're in a contained area, and you let that shit dry. You come back, you do it again. You let that shit dry. You come back and you ventilate while you're letting it dry. and you have a sealed, watertight metal shed. And as far as
you're trying to spoil all my fun. Maybe I want to go in there and start huffing, man, and get a brighter future.
Well, not with Flex Seal. Flex Seal, you might have a tighter lungs future.
Well, hey,
I guess. I mean, whatever fits your fancy. No, but and then as far as your walls, all you need to do is get some PL Premium, the good stuff, like the high grade, and take some 2x4s and put it on the long side, and put those either 16 on center or 2 on center, and then you can attach anything that you want to that. And that PL Premium will literally rip the fucking metal apart before it'll go. Wow. Where there's a will, there's a way. And if it takes some building, I got you. I'm not going to come build it for you, but I'll definitely tell you how to do it. I mean, if you want to pay for my expenses and per diem and everything like that, I don't have a problem coming out, but I just don't see that being very tangible for you. At least not now.
I do have that winning lotto ticket in my back pocket.
I mean, hey, let's do it. I'll build you the fucking Taj Mahal.
I can only wish. Well, I always do say that I know I could win the damn lotto, but I never have that dollar to win with.
Well, that's a defeative mindset. I'm going to spoil your fun, Larry.
I know you're Flash fun spoiler, Nubs.
Is it fun or is it reality?
Reality, fun, come see, come saw. Well, I've been here about 2.5 hours, and I really need to get outside and get some shit done before it gets hot.
It has only been 2 hours and 24 minutes. Stop overestimating yourself, mister.
Hey, it's a tough job, but somebody got to do it.
Trying to pinch an end.
I can, screw my ego too here every now and then.
You're being a narcissist, Larry.
Shh, be quiet.
We're going to start using big words that nobody understands.
Yeah. I'm a whole old hickbilly city slicker that don't know nothing, damn it.
Well, according to some, I'm just a hillbilly fence builder, so...
The shoe fits wear it, right?
Hey, I'm okay with that because this hillbilly fence builder is still making money.
Still building fences, and they want a fence every damn day.
You're fucking right, they do. I can go... The thing is people talk about... I'll let you go with this thought. This will be my closing thought. So people talk about, landscaping getting hurt when there is a social downturn or an economic downturn, rather. Guess what stays consistent? Fences. Yeah. Why do you think people would want a fence in a time where people are more prone to violence? You get what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
That 6 feet of fence vertically is a lot more challenging than the guy down the road with no fence. So they're going to break into one first, and then they're going to break into the second one. Not saying that I'm going to keep them out. I'm going to say I'm going to keep them out for now. Right. Let you go get your favorite tool of protection.
Tool of your trade.
Yes, whatever your craft might be.
There you go.
No, fences and retaining walls, you're not going to let your house fall down, so you're going to buy a retaining wall. And you're not going to let your house get invaded, so you're going to buy a fence.
No
That's it.
doubt about it.
And it don't matter whether it's, you know, like it could be the worst of times and people are still going to buy. In fact, they're going to buy more fences. The worse the social situation gets, the more people want fences.
Well, it's kind of like they got same reason they got the bars on the windows in the apartment complexes.
That's exactly what I'm saying. You know, and one of the things that we are being proactive about is we're developing different things that we can do for security measures so that we can not only, you know, help your security of your yard, but we could also come in and, you know, build the framework for bars over your windows. But instead of having bars over your windows constantly, we build a door system that just flops them down or something. You know, like we're implementing these things, developing these things in our business because as a business, we see an economic downturn and we see a social downturn. And that means people are looking for security.
That reminds me, when I went down to Bring, they had this door down there for sale. It was $1,900 for this door.
Security door?
It was yes and no, I guess. It was huge. The frame was probably, oh shit, a good 6-8 feet wide. And it had
Was it a double entry?
No, it only had one door, but it had like windows built into the frame and these long like windows on the side. And that each windows had bars on them. The door had a little window that had bars on them, and it was all like wrought iron bar type thing.
I bet you that would have been gorgeous.
It was pretty, but I don't know if it was worth $1,900. They tried saying it was like $4,000 new or something.
I would bet every bit of $4,000 to $5,000 for something like that you're describing. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt.
Well,
and the reason is because in order to buy a door like that, you've got to have a house that matches because you're not going to put that on your fucking trailer.
Yeah.
So in order to have that door at $1,900, what they're looking for is they're looking for flippers to come buy that, because I could come out, buy that for $1,900, put it into a house that I had bought, you know, on credit, built that house back in equity, and then resold that house because I put that $1,900 door in. I get to add that $1,900 plus the work. So that's a $2,500, or excuse me, probably a $5,000 to $10,000 job on a good entryway, because the entryway not only consists of the doorway, but you also have all the work in the front. So the deck and or front walkway, you know, like there's a lot of work with that little price tag on that door.
Yeah.
And in order to have that kind of house, you're either buying it on credit, you have that kind of capital, or you're coming in, because people that have houses like that are not out at places like that normally, unless they're really good at their business. Probably not. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Like I'm gonna come in as a contractor. I'm gonna pick that door up, and then I'm gonna go find the customer that wants that door.
Right.
You know, and that customer, now that $1,900 or whatever, I'm just throwing that door in for free because I realize the scope of the work that will be done to get that free door. It doesn't come free.
Yeah.
You know, so anyways, you've got shit to do. Give me a call when you get out there and I can tell you exactly what to do.
All right, man. You take care and have a great day, and always a better tomorrow.
It's always, always, always a great day. Even
All
the
right.
worst days. Peace
Well,
out.
everybody, just remember, we'll be here tomorrow, same time, same bat channel. And as always, don't let that door hit you in the ass.
Your father loves you.
He left.
Oh, man. You'll have to send him that clip. I'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.